Through several well-planned, persistent conservation actions, the gray-breasted parakeet has been restored from the brink of extinction. The successful population increase means that the species can now return to areas where it had previously gone extinct.
I'm Bennett Hennessy, the Program Coordinator for Brazil for American Bird Conservancy.
Hi, I'm Fabio Nunes, Coordinator of the Gray-breasted Parakeet project.
Tell me about the success of the Gray-breasted Parakeet nest box program here.
In the first year, 2010, we had 3 fledglings.
3 chicks have fledged from boxes?
Yes.
Okay.
In 2015, almost 100. And now this year, 2022, we had 472 chicks.
Chicks have fled from boxes. So how many chicks have fledged from the whole nest box program?
2,472.
Wow.
I am Bruno Almeida. I work in the Gray-breasted Parakeet for 11 years now.
So how did the project begin and get to where we are right now?
It's around 2010, we had only a couple of nest boxes, like around 17. And now, after all these years, in 2022, we have around 150.
There is going to be a point where the population reaches its limit.
The gray-breasted are expanding indeed here in the Baturente Mountains. They are increasing a lot. It's good that we see many locals coming to us and giving us this feedback in some older areas that they weren't seeing gray-breasted for like 10 plus years. Now they are seeing. The population is growing, but I think that along with the growing population of the parakeets, we see growing the poachers. So that's an issue as well.
So you have nest boxes where birds are breeding, and you know that the people are respecting that and protecting. So a lot of people here who have property are actually helping the project, volunteers and protecting.
Yes, of course.
But there are some poachers who are going into other areas, or?
Exactly. That's the importance of the nest boxes, because with the nest boxes we can decide where they are going to breed, so we can find the safe spots for them.
What was your conservation program design?
We have this gray-breasted in more than 15 areas in northeast Brazil, and he's gone in these areas.
Right.
And the most problems in this area was they are cutting the habitat, and the people poach this species to sell in the black market. When we started this project, it wasn't a well-known species. So when we started to talk about this species, meetings with the government, in the school with children, to the teachers, showing TV as well.
Pride campaigns and environmental educations with the communities, the schools, so the children.
People now know this species in the city. They paint the animal in the walls. Right. They sell souvenirs with the birds.
If you think about where's the best way to spend money for conservation, I'm sure a lot of you would think that you need to buy forests, buy land. That is the most productive thing you can do for conservation. In this project, you had about 5 years of a very strong education program. That education program led to the refugio.
At some point, we get well-known species and everybody talking about, so the government wants to help. They have an old government area, which could be a small protected area, so they created this Gray-breasted Parakeet wildlife refuge.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In 2018, but the gray-breasted wasn't there. So we put the first nest boxes in 2018. In 2019, we have the first occupation.
In 10 years, how much money did you invest in your education program?
Something around $20,000.
$20,000, and $20,000 had the municipality create a refuge for you, which would have cost around $600,000 to purchase. Is
exactly,
that right?
And we are using this area as a field base and a field office as well.
Right.
It's right now a place that the bird watchers want to see the gray-breast. They now have a place to go, right. Because on the beginning they are looking on the roads, on the cemetery, because they roost in the cemetery.
Oh, right.
So there has no good place to be and safe to see the gray-breast.
How has the reserve creation gone?
It's not like we had planned, because it's low because of the bureaucracy, and now we are almost to create the reserve.
how many hectares had the refuge?
40 hectares.
And now you've purchased the reserve, and how many hectares is that?
Yeah, almost 15.
So now you have a protected area of 55 hectares. How is the gray-breasted parakeet accepting this forest area?
This area is very strategic for the gray-breasted because we are in the center of the breeding area. They are using old trees to breed. It's very important.
So the gray-breasted parakeets are breeding in the reserve?
We discovered during the survey of the limits of the area, we found some very old trees with holes. So they are going inside. We discovered that they are breeding.
So how did you decide on this as to be the first reintroduction site?
Yeah, these places, they have this beautiful forest without parrots, and we used to have gray-breasted here. And it's very close to Fortaleza and Baturité Mountain, so for the logistics, it's a perfect place to start.
How was the process of your first reintroduction of the gray-breasted parakeet?
It was very hard in the beginning, especially to build this aviary. It's a very far place. It's close from the places, but reach here it was very difficult because we have a lot of heavy materials to bring in the forest. But after we build, it's in the middle of the jungle. It's the best place because they are home.
Once you had them here, was it easy just open the door and...
Not at all. We spent 6 months with him here inside the aviary to start the soft release because they feel their territory, it's here now. So we have this concern to open the door and they just fly away. So it was very important to keep them here in this place because we could monitoring after the release.
And so you did something a bit different with captive birds. Can you explain that?
Yeah, we have these captive birds because we want to rewilding. So they learn with the wild, and the wild learn with him.
Given that fear that you're just going to fly away, you had some other processes of your aviary.
So we have these 2 aviaries here. We have one big aviary and a smaller one. So the wild birds goes to the biggest aviary and the smaller one for the captivity, confiscated bird. So in some point, when we open the door for the wild animals, they have this connection with the captivity birds inside and they could come back to visit.
So what happened when you opened the door?
They flew away over the mountain and we look for them in the middle of the forest, and at some point 1 hour after they come back and started to eat in the feeders here. So.
Right. But for the first hour they flew away, they were gone.
Yeah. At some point we are very concerned
and so now they're sleeping in nest boxes here?
Yes, they are they roost in the nest boxes around the aviary. We released 2 groups. First 12 birds and after 10 birds. So we have 2 groups here and they roost separated. They flew away as a flock, eating together, but for roosting they go separated. It's the same in Baturité Mountains.
So they're following their natural behavior?
Exactly.
And your hopes are that they'll breed here this year?
Yeah, we are pretty sure that they will breed because they are still showing some behavior that they will breed, but it's too early. We are expecting for next year.
The population seems stable here, they're staying here, you're still feeding them, but you think once they start breeding here that they're not going to leave?
We think so. They are already eating fruits from the forest. They spend more time on the forest and sometimes they come to eat.
Right.
So it's a process.
Is there anything you sort of learned or anything you would do differently the next time?
I don't think so. I think we did the things happened better than we expected.
Right, right. So the same thing, you'd have some captive birds in a smaller cage?
Okay, so if you have birds from captivity, it would be great as well, because we are using wild animals from a population that is not that big. Gray-breasted from captivity would be very good because we can mix with the wilds and they learn with the wilds and we can release together.
This being a success, if we want to get the species out of threatened by extinction, you want them in more sites, and you mentioned 2 priorities of the project. One is to create reserves, the next one is to have the species reintroduced in many sites where it used to occur and it's lost. Do you have sites planned in the future that you'd like to do this again?
Actually, we have places that we can reintroduce this bird because now we have protected areas, but the bird is not there anymore. So they created protected areas after the extinctions.
And that is all, we were talking about this earlier, the whole idea of ecology, and you had a forest that was adapted for hundreds of thousands of years with the gray-breasted parakeet, and to remove that as a seed disperser could be long-term destruction of the forest I mean, we don't even know, right, how it fits into the ecology, but clearly it's an important part that needs to be returned.
Exactly. So this is very important because here we have these same fruits from Baturité that we see gray-breasted spreading.
Right.
So and they take in the beak and goes to another place and drops on the ground.
Right.
And we don't see, no one's doing this. So it's very important to bring this ecosystem service.
So you've reintroduced gray-breasted parakeet, that's gone a success. Are you thinking about any other kind of reintroduction?
Yes, of course. The gray-breasted is the first. We have other animals, mammals, other birds that they could live here and they should be here.